A scream tore through the night, shattering the uneasy silence of the jungle. Moments earlier, a young Black Sepoy had been ordered to stay away, dismissed and humiliated by the very man now fighting for his life. Then came the roar, a sound that froze blood in its tracks. Shadows twisted as a massive beast lunged from the darkness, chaos erupting in seconds. Prejudice had made him invisible. But in this moment, every life depended on him. Would you trust the man you cast aside when your survival hung by a thread? He was young, disciplined, and determined to prove himself. The Black Sepoy had grown up on stories of courage, and when he enlisted, he carried those dreams into the harsh realities of military life. But respect didn't come easily. Among his fellow soldiers, his dark skin marked him as different. An outsider, a target for whispers and dismissive glances. Orders were barked his way with a sharpness that others never faced, and he learned to keep his head down, working harder than anyone just to earn a sliver of recognition. The flight squadron he served with was elite, trained to handle danger from sky to ground. Yet, no matter how skilled he became, prejudice followed him like a shadow. The commander, known for his strictness, rarely trusted him with critical responsibilities, keeping him at a distance. Still, the Sepoy's loyalty never wavered. The tension within the unit only grew as they were stationed deep in a remote, unpredictable jungle. The air was thick with humidity and unease, every rustle in the underbrush setting nerves on edge, but no one expected the danger that stalked them. Soon, the very man who dismissed him would be forced to trust him with his life. And in that single night, everything would change. The days leading up to that night were heavy with tension. The squadron had been deployed to a remote airstrip carved out of dense jungle, where every shadow seemed alive. The Sepoy worked tirelessly, hauling supplies, checking equipment, and running errands others avoided. He had proven himself in countless drills, but prejudice was louder than his skill. The commander rarely acknowledged him, and when he did, it was with curt warnings to stay out of the way. That sting of rejection cut deep, but he buried it beneath quiet discipline. He'd grown used to being underestimated, to carrying the weight of others' doubt. Still, the isolation gnawed at him. At night, while others gathered around fires, laughing and swapping stories, he kept to himself, cleaning his rifle or writing letters he knew might never be sent. The jungle felt like an extension of his own life, dense, hostile, and full of unseen threats. Then the tension grew thicker. Strange noises echoed from the tree line during patrols, too deliberate to be the wind. Supplies went missing, footprints appeared near the camp, and even the most hardened soldiers grew uneasy. The commander dismissed these warnings, determined to project strength, but the Sepoy noticed things others ignored. Claw marks on tree trunks, the metallic scent of blood carried on the breeze. His unease only deepened, but every attempt to voice concern was met with skepticism. One evening, during a late watch, the Sepoy saw it, a massive, shadowy silhouette slipping between the trees, silent and predatory, his breath caught, his body freezing in instinctive fear. He raised his rifle, but the creature vanished before he could react. When he reported it, the commander scoffed, accusing him of being jumpy, reinforcing every stereotype whispered about him. The humiliation burned, but beneath it was something sharper, a sense that danger was closing in, whether anyone believed him or not. The next day, the squadron pushed deeper into hostile territory. The air was thick, heavy with heat and anticipation. The Sepoy stayed alert, every sound amplified. Hours passed uneventfully, but as the sun began to set, the jungle erupted with an eerie silence. Birds stopped calling, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Soldiers shifted nervously, their rifles raised, scanning the tree line. Then it struck. The attack came like lightning. A blur of muscle and teeth lunged from the undergrowth, slamming into the squadron's flank. Men shouted, weapons fired, but chaos drowned out strategy. The beast was massive, moving with terrifying speed, knocking soldiers aside like ragdolls. In the confusion, the commander found himself separated, cornered, and defenseless. His screams cut through the noise, sharp and panicked. From his position, the Sepoy froze. The commander, the man who had kept him at a distance, who doubted his worth, was about to be torn apart. Training kicked in, heart pounding as he raised his weapon. The distance was too far for a clean shot, and rushing forward meant exposing himself to certain death. But hesitation wasn't an option. The squadron was breaking. If he didn't act now, they'd all die, and so, Gripping his rifle tightly, he sprinted toward the chaos. Each step a gamble between life and death. The world narrowed to a blur of sound and movement as the sepoy charged forward. Gunfire cracked behind him. Shouts blended with roars, and the smell of blood and gunpowder filled the humid air. The beast towered over the fallen commander, muscles rippling as it prepared to strike the killing blow. Fear clawed at his mind, but something stronger. Duty, humanity, defiance pushed him on. He slid into position, rifle raised, but the creature moved faster than thought, spinning toward him with a guttural snarl. Its massive claws raked across his arm, tearing through uniform and flesh, but he didn't falter. Pain exploded through his body, yet he held steady, aimed, and fired point blank. The shot ripped through the air, deafening and final. The beast staggered, thrashing violently, but he didn't stop. Shot after shot rang out, each one echoing with a lifetime of being underestimated, insulted, and cast aside. He poured everything into that moment, his courage, his rage, his will to protect, even as blood soaked his sleeve and his vision blurred. Finally, with a final guttural roar, the creature collapsed into the undergrowth, leaving only silence and the sound of his ragged breathing. The sepoy staggered back, chest heaving as the squadron emerged from hiding, faces pale with shock. There he stood, wounded and shaking, but alive. And victorious. The man who was told to stay away had just saved the life of his commander. Yet in that moment of triumph, there was no applause. The weight of centuries of prejudice hung heavier than the rifle in his hands. He had fought tooth and nail for a respect that still wasn't guaranteed. As the commander struggled to his feet, staring at him with wide eyes, one question burned in the sepoy's mind. Would this act of courage finally erase the shadow of his skin? Or would it be forgotten by sunrise? The jungle fell silent once more, but the weight of what had just happened echoed louder than any gunfire. The commander stood trembling, alive only because of the man he had dismissed. Around them, soldiers exchanged stunned glances, unsure whether to rush to the sepoy's aid or simply stand frozen in awe. His arm was torn, his uniform soaked in blood, but his posture remained unbroken. He was no longer invisible. That night, the camp treated him with a respect they had never shown before. Yet beneath their gratitude, he felt a hollow ache. It shouldn't take nearly dying or saving someone else's life for a man's worth to be recognized. He had faced not only a beast in the jungle, but a far older, far more insidious enemy: prejudice. The commander offered him a quiet nod, a gesture of respect that spoke volumes but felt painfully small. Because the truth was, this battle was not just about survival, it was about humanity. The sepoy's courage had shattered the lies whispered about him, but outside that jungle, the world still carried those same whispers, those same judgments. His story is more than a war tale. It's a reminder of how easily greatness is overlooked because of skin color, how often bravery goes unnoticed until it serves those in power. His heroism forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. Why do we wait until a man bleeds for us to see his worth? As you reflect on this story, think about the silent battles fought every day, on streets and schools, in workplaces, where people are forced to prove their humanity in a world that should never have doubted it. Would you have seen him for who he was before the gunfire? Or would you too have told him to stay away?